Hey, Sean, and by the way, happy birthday, Sean Spicer.
Thank you very much. Great to be with you and celebrating with you. I want to get your take. What's your take on this commitment that was unveiled earlier today? And do you think that this is going to help make the case to put Republicans back in charge?
Yeah, Sean, I definitely do, because the American people want to know, yeah, sure, they already know that we're not agreeing with the Democrats and we want to change course, but specifically how. And what this commitment to America has done is laid out our vision and what we're going to do if and when we do, gain the majority in the House and hopefully also in the Senate.
So I do want to play a piece of a video that the Lincoln Project, a group of never-Trumpers, put. And I want to get your take on this because I'll play it and then I'll get your reaction. Okay. Take a listen.
The MAGAs will try to sell you another contract for America. Everything they're promising is already happening with President Biden. Energy independence? Yeah, Biden's got that. Safe and secure communities? Check. For 7 years, they left us holding the bag and paying the bill for their reckless spending and bad ideas. Biden and the Democrats deliver.
Wow.
The guy who was doing the voiceover, I wonder if he had to do several takes because he was laughing so hard. I don't know what world they live in. And frankly, the thing that's so funny, even for these idiots at the Lincoln Project, the Republicans aren't in charge of anything. How can they blame anything? And energy independent, that's patently false.
Well, you know what? I remember that when the day one, when Biden took office, Sean, that gasoline was at $2.39. And I think the national average right now is about $3.80, and it had been above $5. So, no, we're not energy independent under Joe Biden. That's ridiculous. It's patently false. And how about the $5 trillion plus that he's added to the money supply? And that's why we have record inflation. What is it, 42-year high inflation? And he's handled that and projecting only weakness internationally and not strength. And then in crime, there's been a crime surge. The Lincoln Project is nothing but a bunch of Benedict Arnold phonies. And they disgust me.
Literally, the funny thing is, they initially all got together to be anti-Trump, but now they've just morphed into a bunch of people who just want to keep taking donors' money and making themselves rich at any cost, because that is unbelievable what they're saying there. I do want to talk the border with you, because it's always great to talk to people who actually live in places that are really affected by this, like people down in Texas. It was really interesting because a Democrat senator in Florida, Jason Pizzo, is suing Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida as part of an effort to stop him from sending more migrants that are coming from places like Texas, ending up in Florida. And Governor DeSantis, is sending these people to the Martha's Vineyard, which is just so terrible. So it's funny, when you talk to people in Texas, what's their reaction when they see these liberals get outraged by moving people to places like Martha's Vineyard?
Well, really, what a lot of people say is, you know what, Pat, if the liberals didn't have double standards, they'd have no standards at all. The hypocrisy is just uber hypocrisy here. 50 of it, what do we say? Governor DeSantis sent 50 to Martha's Vineyard, and then Governor Abbott sent about 1,000 to New York City and 10,000 to Washington, D.C., and they say that's a humanitarian crisis. Well, riddle me this. What about 3.8 million have crossed into Texas since Joe Biden has taken office? Is that's not even a human crisis. That's a humanitarian catastrophe. So real quick, Sean, to tell the tape, there were in April 234,000 illegal border crossings. That was 1,250% higher than the last April President Trump was in office. And that was a record. And then in May, it was 240,000, which was 930% worse than the last May President Trump was in office. From April to August, we've had probably, if you can include the known gotaways, about 1.5 million, and under Joe Biden's watch, almost 4 million, which is the entire state of Oklahoma. That is not, Kamala Harris, a secure border.
I do want to turn the page real quick and talk about a letter that you and some of your colleagues sent to President Biden asking him to address concerns that you guys had with his student loan forgiveness, because last month he just got rid of $20,000 worth of a bunch of people's debts that were student borrowers. And I know that you have a specific concern about how this is going to affect the nation's military and specifically recruiting. Explain what your concern is.
Well, Sean, I sit on the Armed Services Committee, and a lot of Americans don't realize that the military did not meet their recruiting goals this year. In fact, they were woefully short. The Army was short by 20,000 recruits. The Navy only hit 89% of their recruiting goal, and the Air Force was also several thousand short. So only 23% of Americans are even eligible to serve when you consider the mental acuity requirements, the educational requirements, and the physical requirements. And only 9% now have an interest in serving, and less than 1% will serve. So one of the things that attracts talent to the military is, of course, the GI Bill and other educational benefits, which one of them is student loan forgiveness that is earned by your military service. When Joe Biden just arbitrarily says, I'm going to give away $20,000 to anybody who earns under $125,000, or if you're married, $250,000, that could directly impact our recruiting, which is already suffering.
Is this, I only have about 30 seconds left, is this a bipartisan concern?
I think there's some Democrats that definitely have the concern. Whether or not they want to voice that concern to make the administration look bad is quite another, it's kind of another topic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I know so many folks. In fact, I talked to your colleague, Ronnie Jackson, not too long ago, and he talks about the fact that to pay for medical school, you know, that's one of the big factors to why he went into the military. So many folks. So, Congressman Fallon, I appreciate you being here on a Friday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean, and happy birthday. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Good to see you. All right. Democrats in D.C. and the media, they are working overtime, trying to turn the attention away from